Alrighty, here's your market prediction and forecast for British Columbia for 2026. Everybody knows that the market has cooled. Prices aren't climbing, buyers are cautious, and sellers are starting to feel tired. But the question I keep getting about Invermere isn't whether things have slowed. That part's obvious. The real question is this: heading into 2026, is Invermere finally finding its bottom? Or is this still just the middle of a longer reset? Because Invermere doesn't behave like Fernie. It doesn't behave like Cranbrook. And if you treat it like a normal housing market, you're going to misunderstand what's actually happening here. To understand Invermere in 2026, you need to understand one key thing. Invermere is not primarily a local income housing market. Invermere is a second home market, a recreation market, retirement and downsizing destination, a discretionary purchase market, and that means most buyers here don't have to buy. They can wait, they can delay, they can take their time, they can change their mind. And in slower economic cycles, discretionary markets always feel the slowdown first, and that's the longest. Invermere is not in a crash, but it is in a longer reset than many nearby towns. Now, why, you may ask? Because second home buyers react strongly to interest rates, market uncertainty, carrying costs. When confidence drops, transactions don't slow, they just simply disappear. That's why Invermere feels quieter than Fernie or Cranbrook, not because demand is gone forever, but because buyers are sitting on their hands. Inventory, condos, and development pressure. This is one of the most important parts of Invermere's 2026 story. Invermere has a higher condo concentration, more recreational developments, more investor-owned properties, and that matters in a reset. So what's happening now? Condo absorption has slowed. Some owners are competing against each other. New ownership projects have stalled or delayed. That creates longer selling timelines and more negotiation, especially in similar condo markets. However, here's the key. When development slows, future oversupply disappears. That doesn't cause prices to rise, but it does help form a floor. So what about investors in short-term rentals? Reality check. Invermere attracted a lot of short-term rental owners, Alberta-based second home buyers, and highly leveraged recreational investors. And that worked when rates were low. Nightly demand was strong, carrying costs felt manageable. Well, now financing is getting expensive and getting even more expensive. Regulation risk exists. Revenue has ceilings. Some investors are selling. They're not in a panic, but because holding no longer makes any sense to them. This is still working through the system, which is why Invermere may take longer to fully bottom than non-resort towns. So who is buying in Invermere right now? Well, the buyers still actively heading into 2026 are cash-heavy downsizers, lifestyle buyers with long timelines, buyers priced out of Canmore and Banff, retirees planning permanent moves. These buyers aren't rushing, they're selective, and they're waiting, and they are willing to just wait for the right property, the right price, and the right long-term fit. And that keeps demand alive, but very controlled. So what does 2026 actually look like for Invermere? Well, this is not a bounce. It's not a breakdown. It's not falling off a cliff. It's not an implosion. It's just a slow stabilization. Prices will likely remain flat or slightly soft. They're going to be extremely property specific, and buyers will reward realistic sellers. Punish, however, on the other end, overpricing and poor layouts. Invermere markets don't turn quickly. They settle slowly after sellers adjust expectations and buyers regain confidence. So who is this market for, and who should just straight up wait? Well, this market is going to reward long-term lifestyle buyers cash-strong purchasers, buyers planning to use the property and not just flip it, people that are comfortable with waiting. This market is going to punish those highly leveraged buyers, short-term investors, and anyone expecting quick appreciation, and buyers stretched thin by carrying costs. Invermere has always been about quality of life and not speed. So a lot of people are waiting for a dramatic signal that Invermere has turned. That signal probably won't come. Invermere markets don't bottom loudly, they quiet down and then slowly move forward. Knowing where we are in that cycle actually matters. But at knowing whether Invermere actually fits your timeline, finances, and lifestyle matters even more. If you want to talk through whether Invermere makes sense for you heading into 2026, give me a shout. And if you want to see how Invermere compares to Fernie, Kimberly, or Cranbrook, watch the next video on your screen. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.